Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья. Меня зовут Илья.
Hello, dear friends. My name is Ilya Shubanov, and I'm going to be moderating a quick session here at Positive Hack Days on the IT and InfoSec market analytics. Let me welcome our guests. We've got with us Kirill Lukashuk,
НКР.
CEO of National Credit Ratings Agency,
Левашов,
Alexander Levashov, Chief Editor,
T-Advisor.
T-Advisor Analytical Center.
Давайте
Colleagues,
про аналитику рынка, да, и Б, наверное, да, так как мы на
market analytics,
есть такая тема
and since we are at Positive Hack Days,
БЭшная, да, и будем говорить, я думаю,
and they're all about information security. It's something that is the focus of our attention here. From any perspective, things changed since the end of February, and I was trying to analyze the market myself. I don't understand where to start. What should be the starting point?
работают уже, да, потому что на прошлое
All our traditional methods do not work. The reports or past reports on how the company or a company will be growing, it doesn't matter anymore.
Но действительно поменялось все.
Well, thank you very much. It's my first time here. Thank you for inviting. Things changed dramatically, and historic data is no longer relevant.
Экономическая динамика, там,
The macroeconomic dynamics and external restrictions create the situation of complete uncertainty.
была такая, ну,
In March,
затаились, фактически жили
things were very quiet.
там, ежедневная
People would be planning just for one day and they would be analyzing in the one day dimension. Now
в нашей работе, да, я работаю в рейтинговом
we have a better reference plane, and in our rating agency, we focus on the future. And the best
являюсь, конечно,
helpers to us in our work are the companies themselves.
до февраля можно
Before February,
скажем так, там, отстраненном взгляде
we could
о происходящем, о каких-то
take an outsider view of the companies. We could work with public data. Now, to get quick feedback from companies through interviews or questionnaires is perhaps the only way
исходя из
over short periods of time.
мы можем планировать датам,
We are not
то есть там
making any plans even for a year, maybe a quarter, 2 quarters ahead. This is our current time frame. And now I wanted to use this opportunity to address the companies and the industries not to close off. Given the circumstances, there is huge trend to cut off information supply. Well, we didn't have much information anyway. Well, yes, but now we are having even less than that. People are using the current situation not to disclose anything about themselves, but think about your future, shareholder value, and market capitalization.
и
It's not going to disappear, right? So let's share the information and use it for analysis.
что анализировать текущую
Okay, which parameters can we analyze today, Alexander?
компанию, что я бы сказал,
Which
отфильтровывать.
companies? I mean, how do you filter them? How do you sort them? A company is in operation today and it's gone tomorrow. Today it's an emerging startup, and tomorrow it's gone because it cannot pay off the credits.
Для начала аналитику на несколько частей.
Well, analytics or intelligence consists of several segments, right?
Аналитика качественная.
There is qualitative and quantitative analytics. There is analytics for the purposes of forecasting, and there is analytics of historical data.
Прошлые 2 года столкнулись
In the COVID times, in the last 2 years,
стало делать намного более сложно, чем раньше.
it became much more difficult to do qualitative analysis. Not all companies are happy to disclose their numbers, and they are no longer willing to share their forecasts. Already in 2020, 2021, it became difficult to get the forecasts out of the companies. COVID changed the market substantially, and it was hard to predict what would happen tomorrow. Now it's next to impossible.
Добило, да, если так можно сказать.
And the special operation killed off analytics, right?
Всю аналитику
Well, yeah, kind of. Not all of it, though.
в прогнозах сейчас, конечно, невозможно.
Of course, you can't do much with qualitative analytics.
вещи.
but or rather quantitative analytics, but there is qualitative analytics, and your understanding of trends
То есть можно
and the understanding of the demand. When talking to customers, you can make assumptions as to which of their products will be in demand. Um,
Ну да, вот как ты правильно
yes,
сказал,
but it's hard to get numbers today.
сейчас стоит
Like you were saying, I agree.
больше тенденций.
Today, probably we need to focus on analyzing trends and the impact of the macro environment onto our market rather than what we did before, when we would be drawing pie charts and growth graphs year on year. Probably you can do it today, but it would be meaningless.
Было бы здорово,
Да.
да, потому что
Yes, if
быстро меняется. Ну,
I mean, you see how fast things are changing.
с заказчиками и с их информацией. Потому
Working with customers and with their information is probably the only source that we have. Budgets are changing. Budgets are being reviewed together with priorities and financial capabilities. The companies respond to the current situation differently. Some won, some lost. There are some companies that actually won from what is being happening right now. So we'll analyze that.
информация, особенно если ее
And companies themselves, like I said, they are a good source of information, especially if the information can be verified through third parties.
долей рынка и
To go back to pie charts and market shares,
Кто номер два, вот это
now the number ones, the number twos, exactly, yes. So now,
покинул
currently,
рынок там, или приостановил
most of foreign vendors left the Russian market, or they suspended their operations, or they are, sitting on the quiet, and it will be impossible to get any numbers or any other information from them.
говорить даже только о рынке
But
РБ. Это сотни
in the information security markets, I mean, we have hundreds of players and we have dozens of segments, and these segments are not disappearing.
те компании, которые
So we will continue analyzing Russian players and those companies who decided to stay. And for them, the numbers will not be predictive. Rather, they will be analyzing the past periods data, especially if you have data year by year, the annual reports.
как ты правильно сказал,
But does it make sense to do this kind of analysis? Like you were saying,
что будет рулить.
today the only thing worth analyzing is qualitative information. But okay, in a particular segment, you have 1, 2, 3 of Russian vendors, but not more than that. I mean, we all know in every segment who is number one, who is number two, and actually, even those numbers are not important. They do not matter. There is a leader, there is the follower, but does it make sense to report market shares or anything?
пироге в целом на рынке ИБ.
Well, actually, yes, I think it makes sense. We are not. It's not about the whole market of information security as such, but we need to identify the segments that the customers want to see products in, and in those segments,
Это может быть топ-7.
there will be top fives, top sevens, top tens. It's not like we have a couple of companies only in each of these segments.
Это еще и возможность заказчику
A rating is not for the vendor only. A rating exists also in the interests of the customer. The customers use ratings to organize tenders, to enter into negotiations with different vendors.
история, но еще не
Speaking about various pie charts and everything, the market size, but you have to also remember about the general financial situation of these companies, what their financial standing is. To go back to the meaning of business, they want to attract investment, they want to be financially sound. Information security has always been a closed market, but the need in resources, even in this market, is pretty high. And in order to get this need addressed, the outsiders need to understand what these companies look like, how they feel themselves.
Общаться по
I talked to many vendors,
это очень
and they were saying
общение с
it's important for us. We need to see the numbers, to talk to financial institutions.
в конечном итоге.
We need to present ourselves to them. Exactly. A JP Morgan report on a particular sector, its dynamics, its financial standing, its indebtedness, its revenue dynamics. So I agree. We need numbers. We still need numbers. We need time series so that
и что происходило.
when the years go by, we would be able to see how the company survived this period, what was happening to them in the difficult times.
Сейчас те инвесторы, которые
A quick comment. The investors who wanted to find startups with international ambitions, many of the investors are now switching to domestic players. They understand all about import substitution. It's gone beyond the government sector. It affects now not only government-owned companies but also the commercial sector. So the potential there is very high. Investors are looking at the sector and they need the numbers to be guided by. And then there are regulators, FSB, STEC, the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Telecom. They also need numbers. Why do they need numbers?
какие-то точечные меры.
Well, to provide support or to offer targeted support to different players. I mean, there are all kinds of, or not to use, or not to apply, exactly, or not to apply any targeted support. The numbers can be used as an argument in the dialogue with the regulator when different initiatives have been launched, not enough to harm.
На данный момент для рынка ИБ, ну давайте там про
The infosec market,
я думаю, в целом, что можно сказать.
not IT, well, maybe, yeah, the IT market in general.
С международных
How sensitive, how painful is the departure of IDC, Gartner, Forrester? As far as I understand, these companies also suspended their work here because, I mean, many, again, were guided by the opinion of these companies because they're big brands, they are well known. When we did analytics ourselves, our analytics was not treated the same as the analysis performed by international companies. Doesn't give us a chance as analysts to for our voice to be heard better, or this niche will be left unoccupied.
Я все равно считаю, что плохо.
Well, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a bad thing still, because competition is always good and it promotes products, it promotes industries. You have to think better than your neighbor to win in this competition. So it's bad. It's bad. Whether it's a chance or it's not a chance for Russian analysts, well, yes, of course, it's a chance, but it's a chance that will not be becoming true without any feedback from the customer companies.
Недостаточный авторитет, репутация.
Of course, we do not have as much reputation as international colleagues had, and it will take time for us to build up this reputation, but we have several years to do it.
Не то чтобы шанс, это, в общем,
I agree, it's not like it's a chance, but it's an obvious thing. I mean, it's apparent that you need to move into the niche now that it's vacated, and we did it, and we will continue building up our capacity. But if you review key reports of IDC on the main industries that they made public,
западных вендоров.
they are mostly analyzing foreign vendors. Foreign vendors are no longer with us. So
Методики, которые они применяют,
the methods that the IDC used,
опросы,
they used questionnaires, they used interviews, they, they've been using these practices for years. And even if IDC stayed, they wouldn't have much to analyze left.
Аналитика технологий.
Right. Another important aspect is analysis of technology and analysis of products.
Отдать должное тому же Гартнеру, они достаточно сильно
To give Gartner its due,
делают, да, и транслируют свой
what they know how to do well
развитие отрасли по развитию.
is promote their vision
Вот сейчас понятно, на кого,
of the industry and market development.
да, вот кто
But
должен давать, да.
who will be our North Star now?
Вроде мы смотрим,
The Western market
там все другое, да, своего
is
вижена.
going to change. We will not be able to follow it closely. We do not have our own vision. Here, on the other hand, well, I think that we need to build up our own expertise. We need to educate people who will have experience and understand the technology and who will have hands-on experience and who would be trusted. I mean, it applies to any industry, especially in IT and infosec.
Нужна комфортная среда.
what they need to grow up, so to say. They need a comfortable environment. They need a support environment, a supportive environment, and investment. It can't be cheap.
Смотрите, вот
This expertise doesn't come cheap.
затронуть,
Very well. Then I would like now to turn to analytics monetization. We know that a Gartner report is expensive, and they're monetizing their expertise through the sale of their data. Here,
все привыкли, что это публичная
everyone
информация, что она
is used to public information that costs nothing, information for free. Do you think they will be able to ever switch to the Western model? Well, we also have closed reports. Probably we haven't been using this model as actively as the open model, but we do have reports for sale.
Вот Гартнер, то, чем занимался
What Gartner did
аналитики, это как раз вот качество.
in analytics, they performed qualitative analysis, and I think it's something that we need to go deeper into, work with vendors, work with customers, create better reports.
Модель вполне реализуема.
The model is quite workable, I think.
Наш опыт показывает, что
If I may, our experience shows
интереснее информация
that
в там закрытом отчете, собственно говоря, тем
the more interesting and exclusive the information in the closed report,
собственно, какой-то ресурс. Один
the higher are the chances of selling it to the interested parties. And here, we must go back to the idea of communication with the companies. It may sound like a for-profit story, but in fact, there are many interested parties there, from the government all the way to corporates. Yes, customers should also make their suggestions on which analytics they need, and they should be open to analytical companies by providing information, by letting themselves to be interviewed or questioned.
Там западной аналитики.
Да, и скажите, вот у нас остается уже буквально 5 минут.
We have 5 minutes left.
Важную тему, с моей точки зрения,
There is another topic that I think we must discuss.
и в том числе
Many big customers
российские аналоги, да, с
today are switching to Russian analogs. They are substituting foreign products with Russian
финансовой
analogs.
устойчивости, качества.
And they need to be sure that the vendor, that the manufacturer has a sound financial situation and a vision, because it's a risk. We are paying several million dollars today, and in a couple of years, the company will be dismantled. The founders will leave the company, start a new business.
распространенный способ
Кирилл.
инструмент, например, кредитных рейтингов. Да,
Well, there is one tool, the credit ratings. It's what we do. It's what we specialize in. We are assessing the financial standing of the company. It's a regulated industry. It's been around for many years. And unfortunately, not even information security, but rather the whole IT sector, just because we do not have many classical listed companies, public companies, because not many companies are are trading their bonds. In fact, it's quite an inexpensive service that can answer many of the questions that you've just raised. And Russian, international, Western, Asian investors will all understand the credit rating.
Сегмента, конечно, надо смотреть.
Apart from the regulated segment, I mean, you need to look at the company history, the company track record, and its current projects as well. Whether the potential bidder, the potential provider has many customers or not, how stable its orders are. I mean, all these things are not regulated,
В частности, нами тоже
but we collect this information into public knowledge database basis.
Здесь
It's an efficient tool.
опять же, конкуренция. То есть, чем
Competition is very positive. The more different opinions there are, the better it is for the company itself. One contractor, I mean, you might suspect that there is vested interest, but you have to have many sources of information.
Да, вот мы
And another quick question about the startups market.
Я закину свое мнение, то есть мне кажется, что в России на ближайшее время
I think that
забыть. Ну, то есть я скорее...
we can forget about startups in Russia for the near future. I am of the opinion that the market will consolidate. All the small teams will be immediately brought up or picked up by bigger companies. Kirill, what do you think?
Вы говорите и представлять
Да.
стартапы.
Well, the classical definition of startups,
Полтора, мне кажется,
like a company existing for I don't know, in the next year or 18 months, there is no market of angel capitalism anymore. So yeah, no classical stops ups here, but maybe inside family offices of big investors, we may be seeing some small teams emerging. It's not a startup as such, but it's a capital-backed development. It's not going to be mass market, definitely.
Инвестиций теперь,
Yes, there is no, well, there are fewer angel investments. I agree.
сформировалось понятие экосистем.
But you know that we have ecosystems, we have spin-offs, and inside and around ecosystems, the niches can be taken by small companies, spin-offs from ecosystems. The companies that are set up with the money of big investors, big corporations. When companies work for big customers, the developers see a niche, and the customer would be willing to finance a project like this with different motivation schemes for the employees. Well, yeah, I think that ecosystems, whether we're going to have 3, 5 different ecosystems in a while, I think here the market will segment itself
ценное количество
into
экосистем, которые так или иначе
the n number of ecosystems
какими-то очень крупными
affiliated with big government-owned corporations.
да, эта история.
In many cases, it is already the case. Look at Rostelecom or look at Sberbank or Rosatom. Rosatom has lots of different stuff. Actually,
Верно. Ну вот я думаю так, наверное.
ну, да, главное не растерять.
Да.
yeah, the important thing is not to lose that,
Абсолютно позитивная история, там, что мы, к чему мы пришли, вот к
because it was a positive development of the last several years. It's important that we don't lose it, and we need government support for it. Okay, colleagues, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Спасибо нашим зрителям.
Thank you to all the viewers and listeners for being with us. See you later.
Очень публичной аналитикой на
Stay tuned for public and not very public analytics at our websites.